We gotta move.
No, we hunker down here. Wait it out.
Holy shit.
As I said, welcome home. All right, looks like we lost him. Let's cut through the garden.
You walk this earth without a heart. You tear the innocent souls apart. You shovel your conscience into the grave. You walk this earth without a heart. Your uniform couldn't be taken off. A tattoo born into your flesh, your mind, your voice. These are your instruments of death. How could you dare to be so bold? You only did as you were told. Marionettes dancing in time to the apologetic lines for all the monsters of our time. Who is evil? Who is blind? In the name of who you'll find.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Captain Mike M. Welcome to episode 164 of the Gamers in Beta podcast. I have played some games this week, so we will have lots to talk about in just a little bit. But first, now, I don't know if you guys can believe this, but for 164 episodes, I've tried to reach out to Maniac 1 through 16. And for 164 straight episodes, they've been busy. So once again, back with us is Jay Maniac 17. How we doing, Jay?
I'm doing well. I had some good news this week. I am off of third shift, and I got a second shift position in a climate-controlled school. So no more sweating my ass off in the middle of the night.
Sweet.
Yes.
And
before I move on, I also got to mention I found out that my television is UHD compliant. So the Xbox One S is go.
Sweet. And our other co-host hails from the Pacific Northwest. He is a eBay power reseller, a tattoo apprentice, and a fine purveyor of chairs and thrones. Let's welcome in Joe State.
That's a fact. The only thing that is a go here is Pokemon.
No S?
No S, but I got a 360 this weekend randomly. One came up with a bunch of games and stuff at the auction, and I wasn't paying attention because I was putting stuff up on the offer up table. That way they can get to it, and the wife ended up bidding it out, and we won it. So we got it pretty cheap, and now I have a 360 with it's an older one, but it has a Kinect, so I have to find a Kinect power supply. They look like they're less than $10 though, so that's cool.
Well, I must ask you, what are you going to be doing with the Kinect that you need to connect it?
Nicole's obsessed with Disneyland, and there's a Disneyland Kinect game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that the kids will really love the hell out of that game.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that listeners, we're bringing him over.
Baby steps. Well, congratulations. Sean could not be with us tonight. He says he has a wicked migraine. So we wish
Is
Sean.
he from Maine?
I don't know. So we wish him nothing but the best. And I think Corey is recuperating from the mother of all hangovers, as he was drinking yesterday at a bachelor party. And I think he said he started drinking around 10 a.m., and he said he was shit-faced by noon. So within 2 hours, he was shit-faced. And 12 hours later, he was still texting us and saying he was still shit-faced. So I think he is in a dark room right now and listening to, I don't know what, ever it is, that recuperate from the nasty hangover. So
I bet you he is in a dark room with his eyes closed and not listening in because he's sleeping or passed out.
Enya.
And the Kenny G.
I went to a bachelor party last night as well, except mine was mild.
No outrageous stories?
So we went to this. Portland has this famous strip club. It's the one that everybody's heard about. It's the vegan strip club. I'm the only vegan of the bunch. Before we went there, we went to this awesome burger spot that I used to go to, but I don't eat that anymore. But we ended up going to this vegan strip club, and I got these awesome nachos. But that place is like the strip club from dusk till dawn. There's just like no rules. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere, so the cops don't go out there. So they just get buck wild out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, in Portland, they get fully nude, so they're like puss out. And
I love that.
And they just get super crazy in there. I guess last time my buddy was there was these two girls using a double ender on stage.
Yeah. Good
Wow.
stuff. Good stuff.
Yep. So that,
Alrighty,
that place,
then.
it's buck wild. Crazy stuff.
Wow.
Cool.
Tits up and puss out.
My buddies from New York, they're in a band called All Out War, and they were playing, I think, the Lucky 13 Saloon last night in Brooklyn. And I saw some pictures of them hanging out before the show. And this is like one of those, like, not really a strip joint, but there's like girls in just like a G-string on, like walking across the bar, like giving you, like getting you drinks, I guess, or maybe they are stripping. I don't, you know, there wasn't like a stage. There was like you, the bar, them on the bar, and then a bartender. And they weren't puss out, but they were in, you know, a G-string, and they had nothing on top. So maybe they were strippers. I don't know.
Huh.
This place is also weird because I've never been to a strip club where everybody that's not stripping is just topless. So like the bartenders, the people bringing your food, taking and running the bar, or like doing bar back and everything, they're all tits out too. So it's pretty different.
Now, what does the wife think of this? She doesn't care at all?
She wasn't super stoked on it, but I mean, what can you do? I'm supposed to be the best man in the wedding. Like, I gotta go participate.
You gotta
right?
fulfill your duties.
Yes, sir.
What's also messed up about that place is they don't give you ones. Anytime they give you change, they only give you $2 bills.
Yes. Yeah, that's the local one around here, too.
Really? They force you to not be a super cheapskate. It's messed up.
They have $2 bills?
Yeah.
Wow.
Anywhere around here, if you pull a $2 bill out, the first thing somebody asks you is, have you been to the strip club?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could get those like in abundance.
Yeah.
I guess you
Neither
can.
did I, but apparently you can, and they do.
Wow.
Yeah, and the local comic place used to do that too. When you go to see the comedians and stuff, they used to give you your change in twos. So it used to be pretty funny. You'd be like, no, I went to the Comedy Connection.
Not the topless donut.
Not the top, and literally they did have topless donuts. I'm like, how do they bring them out without their hands? They
Early and often, Jay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into some of this news. There are people out there that desperately want us to get off the puss out stuff. So,
sorry, people.
It's all Joe's fault.
let's go right into Star Wars, shall we? Now, Joe, are you a Star Wars guy at all?
Yeah, I like Star Wars.
But you're not a freak about it, right?
I'm not someone that's like, oh my God, Star Wars.
I'm sitting here crying because Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, what about you? Are you more of a Star Trek guy or Star Wars?
I believe I probably like both of them equally, although there's not too many Star Wars TV shows, so I guess I watch more of the Star Trek.
Okay. So, with that said, Star Wars Rogue One trailer was released, and I'd say it looks pretty cool, man. It looks a little, story-based, would you say? I know all the other ones had stories too, but this seems to really dig deep into a significant moment in the series, and there's going to be just a lot of, build-up around them learning how to blow up the Death Star, right? That's what Rogue One basically is.
Right.
So what did you guys think of that trailer? I thought it was, to me, like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of story around that, not just a lot of, crash, bing, bam, boom.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have a lot of story. I mean, it's about, no spoilers because it's basically the thing, but what in between the first and second, or actually fifth and sixth, whatever you want to call it, or fourth and fifth, whatever you want to call it, they're where they were getting the Death Star plans, to go get the Death Star plans, I believe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this comes out in December, I don't know any of the actors by name, but some of them definitely by face. I recognize certainly the black gentleman that's in the beginning. He's been
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker, thank you. Yep. He's been in a lot of
Ghost Dog.
Yep. So looking forward to that. When does that come out exactly in December? Does anybody know?
I don't know the exact date.
December 16th.
Nice.
Joe?
2 days after my birthday.
So Zion will probably already see it like 7 times by December 20th.
Yeah, I will definitely go see that as soon as I can. And just a quick mention also that, Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2, or was in the robot, he died this week. So
Pour one out for Kenny
condolences to
Baker.
family and the Star Wars fans.
Now, was he in like the most recent ones, or was he just in the originals?
I think he was a part of it. I think they had all the original people were part of those, part of the most recent ones. So
now, why did we need someone inside of R2-D2?
Because the radio controls back then were not that accurate, or I should say consistent.
Sophisticated?
They weren't that consistent, so they had some issues with them running around, so they put an actor in there. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's move on because we're talking about robots. This fits in nicely with the next piece of news. A new enemy type has been added to Gears 4. And yes, they are called the DeeBees. Who would let that go by? Quality control. Jay, since you are a Gears head, let's hear from you first. Thoughts?
I did watch it. It's interesting. Until I see how it plays out story-wise within the game, I'm not going to shit on it. There's a lot of people I've seen some people that were really big Gears heads that I used to play with who said, "Yeah, I'm out. This is bullshit." And I'm like, I'm going to give it a chance with a story. It didn't really turn me off too much. They got to do something, and depending on how it's implemented within the story, I may really enjoy it, or I may think it's cheesy as hell. But we'll see how it goes. Although I do agree, DeeBees is kind of an odd name for some robots.
But it just sets them up to fail, right? I mean, DeeBees, douchebag. It's just like, you had so many things you could have picked, and you went with DeeBees. Now, maybe that's their prototype, their name, the type of robot, whatever. But
maybe they say DeeBees.
Yeah, I don't
diabetes.
know.
Give me the diabetes.
Jeez, I can see it now. Sitting down, eating a bowl of your oatmeal with your Lancer. I got me the diabetes.
Joe, I know you don't give a flying fuck about Gears, but anyways, from what little you know, or maybe you know a lot, certainly we're used to fighting, more. I don't know the locust, the monsters, more of a monster type enemy rather than something that's a robot. How do you feel about that? Does that take you out of the Gears experience, or or does that push you forward into hey, they had to evolve, they had to do something?
I am all in now.
You're all in. The future. This is realistic.
The only thing I know about the Gears is that there's a guy named Marcus Phoenix. Is that his name?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I got something right. That's it.
Same voice actor as Bender. That helps you.
Yeah, that's about it. Maybe I'll play one now that I have a 360.
Save
backwards
that
compatible.
Anybody got a copy they can send me? Because I'm not going to buy it. Let's be real.
I have 3 copies of the first one. So.
What the fuck?
Jay alternates them out and just
They just about
see if they're any different.
Those things away for a while.
Keep them mint.
No, I only bought one, and then the others were given to me, including my digital copies. So I actually have 4 copies, I guess, if you count the digital.
Now, Jay, how many copies of the PS Vita do you have?
I only have one Vita.
You only have one Vita.
Yeah, I haven't copied it yet, so. But maybe Sony has.
There are rumors out there, patents, tweets, speculating that there is a new PS Vita on the way. Now, is this a new PS Vita as far as Like, PS Vita 2.0, the evolution of the system, or is this just another redesign? That is the question to be had. And IGN was one of the outlets that broke this news. Via Twitter, there was some trademarks that were discovered. And if you look at the specs there, a little thinner, still going to use an LCD. They're not going to go back to the OLED, the OLED. So, I don't know. I'm not too excited about it, If it is something brand new, it's, more powerful and things like that, then let's talk. But to me, everything I'm reading, it seems like maybe it's just a skinnier, more powerful version of the original, but nothing really new about it. You guys?
I don't know. They mentioned something about a redesign. I don't know, probably a year ago, because they had had some of these drawings out there. And I don't know if this is different or not from that. Maybe it's just resurfaced.
I mean, to me, it feels like they're doing something just for Japan, right? Isn't that how the 2000 model started, and then it came over to the U.S. months or a year later? So since handhelds are so important in Japan, maybe they're coming out with another one that's a little lighter, has an HDMI port on the back now. So to me, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a brand new system, just going to be a redesign of the existing one, much like they did with the PSP. They came out with different iterations of it, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering if they're redesigning it, though, so that it actually, although this doesn't show the double triggers and stuff like that, so it matches the controller more consistently. So it could very well be just a redesign, or maybe it's just a resurface of that old one, like I said, that I saw maybe a year ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So at the top, we mentioned that Corey is not here, so we won't talk too much about No Man's Sky. Some people might enjoy that, some people might not. Certainly, I have played it, and we'll go over it in just a little bit, but let's get some news out of the way with No Man's Sky. I'd say just like a lot of games these days, sadly, they're having launch issues. There was some PS4 stuff going on there, and that chatter seems to have quieted a little bit. Most of the issues have to deal with PC right now. And if you believe Sean Murray and his tweets, that is pretty much squashed, except for people that haven't updated their video cards or don't have a video card that can handle it. Others disagree with him. Some people say they can get 90 frames per second if they turn VSync off. So there's definitely some issues out there with it. Some people, I think I saw Jason Evangelo was complaining about the text was not great, the quality of it. Some people were complaining they couldn't get the 21:9 aspect ratio going. But if you look at some of the screenshots on this article that Polygon had, it seemed like all those bells and whistles were in there. So
they've put a patch out already too. So to fix some, because there was, I can't remember, there was like a C+ or something like that. I can't remember the exact name of it that wasn't included in it, which was causing some issues.
So Sean Murray said, biggest issue reported so far is players without the Visual C++ Redis 2010. First patch released already. Update and restart if needed.
Yeah, so they had that, and then there was some other stuff so they've already put out a patch that's put it in. We don't have the article in here, but they also did mention, they're only a 12-man team.
Yeah.
So, as Sean says, that that they're not worth $60 because of that. So, sorry, Sean, I had to put that out there, but we love you.
They said they already hired more people than their own staff for QA.
And that's where I was going. They got a new QA team to fix the issue. So, and with that, they're getting new patch in the near future for it. So that was from DualShockers. So.
Yeah. So a lot of people saying maxing out the frame rate cap and disabling VSync is solving a lot of issues for them.
Yeah.
Joe, was this a game that you were on the fence on, or were you thinking PC, or not thinking about it at all?
I'm pretty much on the fence. I was really hyped for it for a while, and then I found out that it basically, had no story. It was one of those games where you make your own everything. Mm-hmm. And that's
more
just
discovery.
Yeah, it's just really not my style of game. So that really took me off of it, but it looks really just stunning and something that should be experienced. So I don't know. I'll probably try it out, but I don't know if I'm going to just rush to buy it at $60.
Right. Some people who are playing it on 4K says it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I should rent it from a Redbox or something.
Yeah, I'm curious if they have that at Redbox.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe the library also has it too. Darn it.
I mean,
should have thought ahead.
Some people were really nasty, like within the first 50. This game has been out, I should say, the build-up for this game has been many years in the making, right? So the anticipation was at a fever pitch. So people within the first 15 to 30 minutes were flipping their lid that this thing wasn't working. And I think within, the first hour, they had close to 882 reviews on Steam with a mostly negative rating. And if you look at some of these people, 0.6 hours on record, 0.2 hours on record, 0.1 hours on record.
Well, if the game doesn't work and you've got that, I guess
that's
they have a gripe, but you really can't give it a review. It's just the game has got a major issue from the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
one of the guys who works at IGN tweeted out, "Sadly, the PC launch of No Man's Sky is unacceptable. People are pissed. It won't launch. Dips and freezes. They need to patch it ASAP." So people were really hostile within the first hour of that release. And, if the issue is on yourself that you don't have shit updated, like I saw E, who used to work for Microsoft, couldn't get the game to launch, and then he tweeted out a little while ago, "Yeah, I had to update my graphics card." Well, fucking get your act together. Don't be, you got your high-profile guy with, shit ton of followers, and you're saying the game won't launch, and then you have to come out and retweet, "Oh, I didn't update my driver." Well, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, along that lines, too, I mean, I've updated mine. I've gotten 3 different driver updates for mine in 4 days. So, I mean, maybe that was part of what it was. I'm not trying to make excuses.
I mean, he has a 970 he tweeted out.
Right, and I've got the 980 Ti, so I don't know if that's a piece of that or not. But like I said, I patched it and did the updates because I had an issue with playing one of the games, which I'll mention during our What We're Playings. And I got a blue screen. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I went in and updated my drivers. And I'm looking at my system. I've had 2 others since then. So
I'm looking at my system tray, and NVIDIA doesn't have any sort of alert on the icon. That's usually how I know there's something. I certainly could go in there and force it and make it search, but I won't do that right now. But right. I haven't had an update for NVIDIA in a while, which with No Man's Sky seems a little strange. So yeah, I'll have to check that in a bit.
Yeah, it was the NVIDIA Dash, whatever they call it there. So
GeForce
it popped up for me. The GeForce Experience, yes, it popped up for me. I now have no updates available. So.
Well, I know Corey has been playing it like a fiend, so we look forward to when he can be back on the air and tell us more about it. I will certainly give you my brief impressions on it in just a few minutes. But first, let's go into the community question of the week. Jay came up with this one. He wants to know, and we want to know, do you have a favorite Telltale game and why? And based on our response, many of you are not playing the Telltale games. So there are just a few of these. Jay, why don't you take all of them?
All right. Let's see if I can say this correctly. This should be interesting. Tasuki Girl cosplay at Lori O. Tales from the Borderlands, followed closely by The Wolf Among Us. Cornelius Turner at Beam626. I mostly do their Batman series as my latest interest from them. Chase Langdon at Awakened Heathen. The Wolf Among Us, hands down, a slightly hidden gem. I have to agree. Alex at Mr. Skyzone. Skyzone. Tell me which one's right, buddy. Favorite Telltale game would be first Walking Dead. After that, I quickly lost interest since most of your choices don't matter, which is valid. that's turned me off a little bit because of the same thing. And Double A Ron, Indio Techno, fave Telltale Games is Borderlands. And I've heard from a lot of people that's pretty good, too. So, Mike, Joe, what were your favorites?
Why don't you go ahead, Joe?
I think Alex's name is Sky's On, like what they say in Iron Chef. But my favorite Telltale game is the only one that I've played, which is The Wolf Among Us.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
I would
excellent.
have to agree. Wolf Among Us is probably my favorite. Borderlands was very good. I had to think about it. They're all very, interesting. Game of Thrones, certainly got you mad at times because it has that despicable character in it. His name is escaping me right now. What's his name, Jay?
I don't know. I didn't play it.
The flayed man.
Oh,
Ramsey Bolton.
Yeah.
So he is has a big role in that story. So that can get you aggravating. That's how good of a character that Ramsey Bolton is. The Walking Dead stuff didn't do too much for me, but the latest one, the Michonne.
Yeah, you liked that one, huh?
And the 400 Days was very good.
Yeah, that kind of middle fill-in Walking Dead one. That was kind of a fill-in one and introduced different characters. I enjoyed that one, too.
And sadly, I have not played the Batman one yet. I have a funny story with that I'll tell right now. Is I went to play it today. We just got home from going out into Boston. It was like 100 degrees today, and we went into the downtown area to take the kids to like the water fountains and get a little wet and run around, blow off some energy. And then we came home and we were eating some lunch, and my youngest son was doing something, and I was like, all right, I'm going to squeeze in here a little Batman time. And it was a silly move on my part because he is a Batman fiend, and as soon as he saw the logo come up on the TV, he was zeroed in. He was glued to the TV. And the game starts off with a very, very violent episode. And my wife took like one look at me and was like, you dumb shit.
Should have known from Telltale. It was not going to be PG.
It was not PG whatsoever, so I quickly had to turn it off. So I literally have seen like the first 30 seconds of that game. So I cannot give a accurate answer, but if someone wants to point a gun to my head right now, I have to say The Wolf Among Us was my favorite as well. And Jay, I think, Jay, the same for you, right?
Yeah, if I think about it, I have really enjoyed a lot of them. But, I mean, if you just ask me first thing, the first one that pops into my head is Wolf Among Us. I thoroughly enjoyed playing through that. I enjoyed the characters, the art style. The art style worked very well with the, kind of point-click kind of play. So that's why I believe I enjoyed that one the most, although the first Walking Dead really hit you with the way you went through and with the ending on it. And also, playing that first one, you didn't realize that a lot of your choices were just a piece of the story that just, no matter what choice you made, ended up the same. That one I felt more like I was making decisions that mattered. Mm-hmm. So I guess that was a piece of that too. But yeah, Wolf Among Us was definitely my favorite. So.
And our question for next week that Jay has come up with, we know right away that we're not going to get a super ton of responses because this is only out on PS4 and PC, so Indio Techno will probably give us some sort of snarky response because he's not playing this. But Jay, anyways, why don't you have at it?
This question was based off of a lot of the games in the past that in games now where you're getting a ton of hype before they ever come out and before you even really know what they're completely about. So my question to fit its release this week is, do you think No Man's Sky was overhyped? And how do you think it affected the sales? In your take, did the hype help or hurt the sales? I mean, with Mike, I'm surprised Mike got it because it's was so hyped that I figured he would immediately reject it.
I am usually that type of person, Jay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for paying attention for 163 episodes.
I try sometimes.
That is a very accurate representation of who I am. If it is too hyped, I get turned off. But no, to me, if I had to be entirely honest, and I feel like I did win the Honest Abe Award, didn't I? A part of me has honestly felt bad for Hello Games and the light that they have been painted in, the accusations and things of that nature. And so a little bit of that, coupled with the curiosity, and then some of the visuals that I've seen all along look spectacular. So if you package all that together, I think that's the reason why I bought the game.
Yeah. And Joe, did you get it?
No.
No, and neither did I. I have not picked it up yet. I'm kind of glad I did wait, because I was going to pick it up on PC, just assuming that you're going to get better graphics and better, run better for PC. So obviously that didn't work.
Well, let's get into it right now, because that's where we're at, the what you've been playing section. And I would say this to you, Jay. You often talk about, I need my relaxation game. And whether it's your Peggle, your Tumblestone, or whatever else.
I can't disagree.
That, to me, for you, I would not get this on PC, because this is a relaxation game unless you're doing some of the space combat, or unless you have sentinels attacking you in some of these planets. But for the most part, in my brief experience with the game, you are off exploring, categorizing or cataloging things you've discovered, and it's not a high-stress type game. You could, lay back on the couch, and you could go about amongst your business and check things out. So it is relaxing in that aspect. So I really think for you, you would do yourself a disservice on getting it on the PC. I think you would get more out of it if you were playing it in a couch environment.
Well, I do have a couch environment with my PC now, and the PC and the PS4 are on the same television.
Cool.
So in that case, that's the reason I say that. Now, if it was out on Xbox One, I would definitely have it on that, because I can bounce around from wherever.
That's interesting. We don't have an article on this, but someone asked him about that, if it's coming to Xbox One, and a Sony rep quickly stepped in on the question. They asked him if this was a timed exclusive and things of that nature. And I think Sean said, I got to be careful of what I say here. And then that's when the Sony rep came in and said, yeah, next question. So
yeah, I think it's coming there. It's happened a couple times where they've asked, and he's just basically said, well, I can't comment on that. Well, if you're not saying no, there's probably a pretty good chance at some point in time it will, and I believe it will. Mm-hmm. But because of Sony's foothold they have now, I think it's not going to be, like Inside, where it was, a month and a half, 2 months.
Right.
I think you may see as similar to what we had with Tomb Raider, a year or more.
Or Rocket League.
Yeah, or Rocket League, same thing. Yeah. But I do believe we will see it come to Xbox at some point in time. So, but a question I have for you, seeing as you have played some of it, how much time have you got into it so far?
I got about 2 hours, 3 hours max, and like I mentioned on the 40 cast, I restarted. I wasn't happy with my first playthrough, so I have probably about 2 hours in a legitimate playthrough, 3 hours total.
Do you think that you could get lost in this and lose time playing because of this?
Sure.
The discoverability that's within the game? I
have an issue right now. I haven't even gone to orbit yet in my second playthrough. So in my first playthrough, I did what the game asked me to do, to rebuild my ship and then go into orbit. And I don't think I had the hyperdrive. And the problem is, if you don't have your hyperdrive, and if you run out of the pulse speed, it can take you an hour to get to the next planet. And ain't nobody got time for that. So I really didn't feel like I had a solid grasp of what the game was. I was in space, and I was like, this is confusing. I'm shooting asteroids. How do I get over to this planet over there? So I was like, you know what, screw it. Let me delete my save and start over. And I'm enjoying the only planet I've been on so much that I haven't gone back to space yet. And I want to collect all the waypoints. I want to get as many I guess you could call these things, somewhat of a Pokemon Go experience, right? I want to catalog as many of these animals as possible, and as many of these creatures as I can. So you can definitely,
because you get credits for scanning them, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't got the hyperdrive yet. I've got a bunch of various tech pieces, either for my suit or for the ship or multi-purpose type tools. And so yeah, you could absolutely get lost. I've heard some people said they spent 5 hours on the first planet. So I'm about 2 hours, 2.5 hours on this first planet. And it's an absolutely beautiful game. And does Planet 1 differ that much from the first Planet 1 I was on? Visually, yes and no, but I'd say environmentally totally different. In the first area, I was on a very cold planet, and I had to manage my health a lot closer than I do on this planet that I'm on right now. And, all the materials that you need to charge your weapons up or charge your jetpack or the beam are in abundance. So it is kind of an act of futility to always be going out and breaking down the iron or the plutonium or the carbon or whatever the various things you need.
Now, can you get overburdened?
Oh, yeah, very quickly, yep.
Okay.
And, yeah, you have to manage that. Like, hey, I got this really special piece of material, and it doesn't do me any good right now, but it says the value on it's pretty high. But you know what? I got to drop it because I need other stuff right now. You also have the ability, if it's in your suit, you can press triangle and move it over to your ship. And, you got to...
Because you have two separate inventories, right? You have one for your suit and one for your ship.
Exactly, yep.
As you can see, I've looked into this. This is a game I will be picking up at some point in time because I believe that, this, like you said, it'd be my relaxation game. Just sit down and just poke around and discover.
Exactly. I mean, once you build up this, once you repair the scanner, you press down on the L3 button, and that scans the whole planet, and you can see all the question marks that you need to go to. You can see all the various materials that you'll need. Like, hey, I need this. I forget what the name. I'm going to say helium, but that's not the right word. It begins with an H, H-E. You can go see where that is, and it's not close. You got to go, jetpack around the whole map to find it, but eventually you get there. So that scanner is really important to use. So yeah, you could definitely get lost. It's a mix of exploration, survival, and cataloging.
How much survival, though, is it to a point where it's frustrating, or can you find what you need to stay alive pretty easily?
As far as the materials you need, very easy. I don't feel like I've ever come close to dying from that aspect. What is frustrating to me is you use the beam to shoot the materials you need, but if those little sentinel robots see you doing that, they start shooting you.
Oh.
And that doesn't seem to make too much sense to me. But so then you got to fight them off, and then if you kill a whole bunch, they send a whole bunch more back, and then if you don't kill them quick enough, they send larger and more intense sentinels after you, and that can get a little hairy. So
interesting.
And I have seen people talk about space battles. I haven't done any of that. I've heard people talking about finding people to trade with. I haven't found any traders. I haven't found any aliens. I've certainly found a lot of outposts and things of that nature, but I have not found any other sort of life form as far as aliens or traders.
Yeah, I was watching Lucky Stiff. He streamed some of it on Twitch, so I was watching some of that. So
yeah.
And he was doing trading, and he had, it looked like those sentinels you're talking about, whatnot. Like one of them was like a trade store where you could go to and sell stuff.
Mm. So, yeah, so this, I mean, I have just barely scratched the surface, I just basically got the cellophane off and walking around a little bit,
Yeah.
I haven't done a whole lot. And to me, am I going to sink like huge amount of hours into this game? I don't know yet. Right now, it's cool. Once the novelty wears off after 8 to 10 hours, will I still be into it? I don't know. But if you like Minecraft, if you like Pokemon Go, if you like, Ark and things of that nature, this game's got a little bit of that in there, a little bit of everything like that. So, and I think it looks great. And, certainly, tune in to Gamers Unscripted this Wednesday. We will certainly be talking to Sean about this to see if he's changed his tune or not. But to me, I absolutely feel like it's a $60 game.
Good to know. We beat that one up pretty good.
Yep. Other things I've been playing this week, I have been playing Headlander. We'll talk about that in a minute when all you guys
yes.
Talk about that. But I started out playing, just briefly today, a couple of these. Death Road to Canada. And this is kind of a...
What a name.
This is a very much a pixelated, 8-bit type game. And the description is control a car full of jerks as they explore cities, recruit weird people, rescue dogs, argue with each other, and face gigantic swarms of slow zombies. It's a randomly generated for a new story and rare events every time you play. So it is a very much an indie pixel art game, randomly generated roguelike. If you like those. The Binding of Isaac, and what was that other one that we were playing a little while ago, Joe, with the guns?
Gungeon?
Enter the
Gungeon?
Enter the Gungeon?
Yeah, it's got stuff, elements like that, but this is certainly a lot crazier because you run into a shitload of zombies. So I need to, play this a little bit more. Didn't have a solid handle on what I was going on, and certainly seems like some of these zombies you cannot just kill instantly. You have to kill them with various weapons, whether that's a wrench, a baseball bat, a golf club. Just looking at some of the videos and images online, it gets a lot...
Melee then?
Yeah, melee, exactly. Yep. There are some grenades that you can throw. You pick up some bullets, so there must be a gun at some point. It has local multiplayer, local co-op. So I've been enjoying that a little bit. And then I've also been playing this game, which I enjoyed much more. It is Monsters and Monocles.
Sophisticated.
Yeah. So this is also, I'm playing this on Steam. It's a frantic top-down shooter for 1 to 4 players. Use teamwork and your arsenal of weapons to defeat the overwhelming hordes of evil, either locally or online. All the levels are procedurally generated with new layouts, objectives, and secrets each time you play. So another randomly generated roguelike. This is in early access, but this had a lot more polish than Death Ride to Canada. It plays much more like a twin-stick shooter. And this was a lot of fun. I could see if this comes out to consoles that it could take off. It's got a little Diablo feel to it. It's also got has, again, Enter the Gungeon type feel to it as well. So I'd be up for playing this with someone if anybody has this. Again, it's called Monsters and Monocles. And I think that's coming out August 16th. So if anybody picks that up, let me know. And then let's dive into Headlander, shall we? You guys have certainly played more than I have. I am up to the point where I would think it's maybe like a tutorial. So I was on this spaceship, and you had to get to the escape pods. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's what I finished. I got through to the escape pods and propelled myself into another ship or a plane of some sort and hit my head, obviously. And that's where I turned it off. It was time for dinner at that point. So why don't you guys dive into that, and I will interject as needed.
You've basically just started the game where it got interesting for me. The tutorial was, I enjoyed playing it because the way it plays, it's interesting, but, the story really opens up and the gameplay really opens up once you get past that area. That's, like I said, it's pretty much tutorial.
So before I forget, I should say that Joe has written up a article about some of his impressions, and that will go live Monday on gamersinbeta.com. But in the meantime, we'll still talk about it. Indeed, Joe. Indeed.
Yes. So do you want to give a basis of the game, Joe? Seeing as you've done a write-up, you probably can say it more eloquently than I can.
So, like this basic kind of just like what it is and what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
I knew you could.
Yeah, guys.
So you're like this preserved head in a jar. kind of like Futurama. You know how they always have like the president's heads in jars, and they go around talking and stuff. Only you can't talk because you're just a head, and they use science to explain. Hey, you don't have lungs or vocal cords. How are you supposed to talk, dummy? So you're just going around. You're in this jar. It's got a jetpack, and you're flying around, and you're able to attach to robot bodies because you're basically in this space station that is based on 1970s futuristic sci-fi. So there's a lot of like fiberglass and really round and kind of pointy robots, like round scenery but pointy robots. So it's very 70s.
Shag carpets.
Yes, certainly shag carpets. In the Pleasure Dome.
In the Pleasure Dome.
So you're going around and you can inhabit these bodies by planting your head on there. And you can control them. You walk around. You get some with blasters, some without blasters. You're able to interface with certain things in the environment, sometimes computers, sometimes elevators, etc. And you do a lot of very, I guess, kind of simple puzzle solving, a lot of combat, and a lot of just really kind of tongue-in-cheek dry humor in the game.
Oh, I love it. Like, the first time you have to, it's a little tiny door, so you have to use a certain type of character to go through it. And the first door that you go through is, you have gone through the a-hole.
Yep. Stuff like that. Yeah, they're very good at their humor. And so basically, the majority of the game, I like to play it by generally hopping off the bodies and using my super maneuverable head in a jar to go around and use this vacuum fixture attached to me to pull the heads off of the robots to disable them instead of doing like firefights all the time.
And as an explanation, you have lasers, and they're different type of lasers. Some are single, some are triple, and some are super strong or whatnot. And you can pop the heads off some of these other robots because they have lasers and are shooting at you too. Or you can just fly up, like Joe said, and use the vacuum to pull the head off, and then inhabit that body.
Mm-hmm. But what's really fun about this game is figuring out all the small puzzles. A lot of people liken it to a Metroidvania style game. I can sort of see where they're coming from, but I don't.
The head aspect, the flying head changes it because you're not just running around and jumping. Matter of fact, you can't even jump.
Right, and then there's not a ton of backtracking, and there's not a ton of just like finding new upgrades to be able to go into a new area. I mean, there is an actual skill tree to this instead of you just have an upgrade and it's always there. So there's a skill tree, and sometimes you can have an upgrade or sometimes you can not have an upgrade. It depends on how you choose to go with your skill tree. And a lot of the time it just depends on whether or not you can get the certain type of robot body into your employ with your head attached to it. You don't have that permanent upgrade like in a Metroidvania game. You are relying on this body to not get destroyed by the other robots shooting at it. And so if you lose that body, you basically have to go and find a new one, as opposed to in a Metroidvania where you get the super missile and all of a sudden you can just open up any door that has a super missile. So it's a little bit different. It's definitely a really good variation on that style of game. I would really liken it to, if anybody's played it, the Bionic Commando Rearmed.
Mm-hmm.
And then also there's a little... I kind of think it's a mix between Bionic Commando Rearmed and that game Stick It to the Man.
Oh,
interesting.
Stick It to the Man. That was so weird.
Yeah, I really like those games. And so, I mean, this one has just ended up being really right up my alley. So
yeah, but
I like it.
The controls for the head are just so spot on, though.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the reason I prefer that, like you do, over shooting. And I guess part of it too is you got the different characters he mentioned. You kind of have people who kind of live in this space station, and then you kind of have like their workers and security people. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of a difference, and you can jump on the bodies of any of them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the doors, they're color coded, and you have to use that color coded character. And like I said, you have to keep that character alive to be able to get through some of these doors. So that's part of the puzzle part of it. And it gets a little more in depth from there too. So
definitely
thoroughly
and I would
enjoying
go further into it, but I don't want to spoil anything because there's definitely some really cool stuff in the game. But I don't want to ruin it. So
and the humor is great.
And this game was not really on anybody's radar. Although it is a Double Fine game,
right?
And they've put out some. Certainly some popular games in the past. So I'm going to try to get someone from Double Fine on the show, and maybe we can talk more in depth about the game at that point. But at least in my early experience with the game, it has a unique art style to it, a 70s vibe for sure.
Oh yeah.
But it's also a little quirky, like when you zoom out, when you're doing more of like a platforming type stuff. It doesn't look the greatest, but still has that 70s quirky vibe to it that it can get by on it,
And there is a platforming vibe to it. I mean, you kind of have to move through, and they do give you a map that you can reference to find out where you're at, and you have different things you have to get to. So,
yeah.
Now, Joe,
something I didn't figure out for a long time, and I'll just let you know that you can do it now. Is you run into these robots called Mappy.
Yes.
If you pull that guy's head off and you land on him and then you push X, you'll download the entire map for that area.
Shit.
And so you don't have to go and discover what rooms are attached to what. It'll give you the map.
I've been doing it through Discovery, so I'll have to try that.
Yeah, I didn't figure that out until like halfway through the game.
Yeah, you get talking with them, and he kind of tells you that in a very, very, very vague way. So I didn't think to pull the head off and do that. So good call, and not a big spoiler. Just helpful.
And you've played through the whole game, is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, I beat it 2 nights ago, I think it was.
Now, would you say
very good.
How long did that take you, approximately?
Oh, goodness. Probably 6 hours or so.
So it's not too long. Would you say at any point it gets too overcomplicated, too hard, too difficult, or is it as long as you go through the upgrade process, you should be fine?
There's only one time that I got a little bit frustrated because I ended up losing my body and I jumped through this one door that I probably shouldn't have gone through. And I couldn't figure out my way to get back. And it was after I was already playing for several hours, and it was really late at night. So when I came back to it the next day, I was able to figure it out and get through it. But that was the only time I was ever frustrated with the game.
Yeah. Usually there's a way to, because I did run into a similar situation, and I kind of had to bounce around, go into another room, and then come back through to get a body or a robot to spawn. And once that happened, then I was able to, but I thought I was stuck. And I know I've seen on Twitter somebody had mentioned that there was one, no matter what they did, the body didn't respawn, and they did identify that as a bug, and that they had a patch in process to fix that. So
all right,
very good.
So Joe, what else have you been playing?
I've just been playing Chrono Trigger. I took the kids to the library last Monday, or 2 Mondays ago, actually. I've been in it for 2 weeks now. Since I wasn't on the last show, I have actually been playing it since before then. And I picked up Chrono Trigger, and it's, the original SNES JRPG. And I never actually beat the game. I really never even made it very far into the game at all. And it's one of those games that everybody really talks highly of from back in the day. And so I decided that I was finally going to pull the trigger and play it. And I've been really enjoying it so far. I've kind of just been in the mood for something like this, like an old JRPG. And it's definitely scratching that itch. And I'm definitely seeing why it has the hype behind it. So, very fun.
And you have not dived into Abzu yet, right?
No, I haven't picked it up yet. I want to, but I have not had the time after Headlander, and then things didn't go as hot as we had planned around rent time with the store, so we had to really get a little bit tight with the wallet for a minute.
All right, understandable. So Jay, let's talk about what you've been playing besides Headlander.
Some of the same old. Witcher 3 Blood. Cleaned up all of the side missions that I had open, and which were quite a few. Again, thoroughly enjoying those. Story is enjoyable. I've upgraded my feline gear all the way up to Mastercrafted, all of them. And one of the things I had been asking on Twitter was about the crossbow. Like, how do I? If you look at the description on it, the description says that there's Mastercrafted gear. However, that is in reference to all of the feline gear, but the crossbow, there are no upgrades for the crossbow. You just have the one basic. That was it. So I found out the last thing I had to upgrade to Mastercrafted was my iron sword. I had to find. I didn't have the plan for it, so I had to go and search for that, and I found that and upgraded that. And now I'm back on the main Blood and Wine story path. So that's where I'm at with that. And more Tumblestone. Again, it's kind of my relaxing game for now. And I'm 3/4 of the way through the second world and enjoying that. It's kind of changing things up. They have the rocks that kind of, every time you make a move, they appear or disappear to kind of block you. Now there are there's actually 4 on the screen, and they alternate back and forth with each turn on how you go. So it's making it a little more complicated, and I'm enjoying that. Making me use my brain. Imagine that. Headlander we had mentioned. I'm thoroughly enjoying that. And I had not mentioned before, but that is Double Fine. And man, when they hit something on the head, they hit it on the head. Stacking was probably the last one that I thoroughly enjoyed by them, and this one is doing the same for me. I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully I can get through and finish that. And another thing is I just was messing around today and kind of looking through my list of stuff, and noticed I had not played the remap, the Halo collection for the Xbox One, and I was on like the 3rd chapter of Halo 2, so I started that back up and started playing a little bit of that with my granddaughter. So there is that. The next generation is starting in on that. So that's pretty much what I've played. Mostly been Witcher and Headlander.
Cool. So good stuff. And like I said, when Corey returns, we will hear more about No Man's Sky. And maybe Sean has picked it up too. I don't know. We do have a pertinent question, though, from the audience. This is rather important, guys. Runer2 of Dad's Getting Grounded wants to know, boxers, briefs, or other? I will go first. I am strictly a boxers man. Anybody else care to respond?
I am in between. I do the boxer briefs.
I can't hang with that. Go ahead.
I do boxers, but if I am mountain biking or riding on the four-wheeler, boxer briefs, because they don't chafe as much.
I need that dancing room, like my grandfather used to always say. I need that dancing room. Can't have anything holding the package back.
I just feel like anytime I do boxers, just kind of something always pops out.
I'm just putting it out there. If MyUndies wants to sponsor us, we'll try them out and push them here. So.
Well, Jeremy, thanks for
new underwear today, so how very relevant.
So thanks for the question, Jeremy. I'm sure people out there wanted to know, and yes, we cannot give you any more scandalous answers than that. I'm sure some other freaks out there wear something different, but not these guys. We're traditionalists. No tidy whities in this group.
No, sir.
No, sir. All right, let's move on to the news. This will, I'm not sure if this makes Jay happy or not, but Witcher 3 Game of the Year Edition coming out August 30th. Probably no surprise to anyone, and it includes all of the DLC updates and all that good stuff. because you feel this is your favorite all-time game, Jay? Do you feel any sort of? Do you feel like, hey, I should just pick this up and keep it in the cellophane so I have it on my shelf?
No, I just, for me, this one, it's nice they're releasing it for people that have not started it yet, and you get it for what, $50. You get, basically, you're getting the game, all the free DLC, which was free DLC anyways, and then the was it 3 pieces or just the 2 pieces? 3 pieces of DLC, paid DLC for $50. That's a definite, and especially for the amount of hours that you can put into it, that is a deal. But for me, I already own it. I've already bought the Seasons Pass. I've got it on the PC. I will buy the Seasons Pass at some point in time. If it was already available, I would have grabbed it, but a little too late for me. I'm already in.
And Joe, you have no desire for The Witcher, right?
I bought The Witcher 3.
Oh, you did?
And I played it for a little while, but I didn't. I ended up just getting to that one witch lady who, I don't know, there was like 2 rabbits going at it when you see her.
The blonde one?
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, continue that for about, 20 minutes, 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah?
It'll get interesting.
I can only assume.
Boom,
What
chicka,
happened?
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
yeah.
That was my assumption.
Yep. So maybe no need for you to pick this up either then, since you already have it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nordic Games is now reincorporated to THQ Nordic. They say they have approximately 23 games in production, 13 of which nobody knows, or unannounced, I should say. So many people out there on the Twitters and other social media networks are proclaiming at the top of their lungs, Darksiders 3, Darksiders 3.
Yeah, baby.
So,
Bring it.
So
yeah.
it's sort of interesting. They acquired a lot of the THQ games. So I think they said it was a natural fit for them. Anything else you want to add on that, Jay? Anything?
Just, kind of it's more of a question for the listeners and for you guys. A lot of people, I've seen a few people mention, why use THQ? THQ is a company that went under, but I think THQ had a lot of good games. The circumstances of how they went away really sucked. I mean, it was, due to, stocks. Basically they got overtaken and sold out. So, I think I'm glad to see it back. What are you guys' thoughts as far as them using the THQ name?
Well, let me read you the quote here. It says, while we take great pride in our Swedish roots and accomplished a great deal under the Nordic Games masthead, we decided it was time to incorporate the THQ name. Those key brands will continue to shape our business in a meaningful way going forward, and THQ Nordic represents a core approach of doing much more than owning a highly competitive portfolios of IPs. To me, it's just a name. Now it's time to either put up or shut up, right? THQ, much like Activision, had some great IPs, but they also had a lot of shovelware. So will THQ Nordic just continue to follow that path, or will they just put out the quality and leave the shovelware by the wayside?
I think a lot of people don't even realize what games Nordic has put out.
Yeah, they're in the process of putting out a lot of physical stuff. So they recently released the physical version of State of Decay, like that collection one, and they're also doing the same for Quantum Break. So if anybody is looking to get like collector's edition with a whole bunch of, this is for the PC, by the way, with a whole bunch of discs, making of, and things like that, Nordic is doing a bunch of that type of stuff right now. Anything else you wanted to add, Jay?
No, that pretty much covers it. I'm just glad to see that, and I will be excited when and if they announce Darksiders 3, seeing as we're getting Darksiders, the original, is going to be re-released, so now we'll have both of them. They've already released Darksiders 2 remaster, so it'd be nice to see it completed finally.
Yes. Sony has confirmed that their PS4 Neo reveal will be September 7th. We mentioned that last week. And now they have confirmed that there will be a live stream of this. And this will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on September 7th. It will take place at the PlayStation Theater, formerly Best Buy Theater, in Times Square.
And that's where we went, right?
No, we went to the Gotham Bank or something like that. We didn't go to we didn't go to any theater or anything like that. It was an old bank that they turned into some.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was a club, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And no invites to this because PlayStation VIPs, was it called?
MVPs.
MVPs was disbanded in April?
I guess so.
So yeah, I sent a link out to you. I was looking
that the guy who ran that, I think his name was Paul. It sort of went downhill, or it didn't go downhill. It took a different approach, a more analytical approach. They wanted people to submit reports on a weekly basis of what they were doing to promote the PlayStation brand, and I think that was maybe a little too much for people. And when that guy Paul left, he went over to Riot to work on League of Legends. There was sort of a change in philosophy at that point.
Did you just write in, I had Joe State on my show?
Yeah, every week. Joe State was on again. All right. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Also this week, there was some new single-player footage for Titanfall 2.
Oh, yeah.
Not really a video. It's just more of kind of a long animated GIF.
Yeah.
But it looks pretty sweet, right? Graphically, it looks pretty awesome.
I mean, based off of the first game and then what they're kind of showing for play, you can kind of get an idea. I mean, obviously, it doesn't look like it's in-game footage or anything, but it gives you an idea where they're going to go, and you can kind of, like I said, based off the first game, kind of see where they're headed, and I'm in.
Yeah, so you'll be playing as Jack Cooper, a militia rifleman who dreams of piloting his own Titan. At the beginning of Titanfall 2's story, Jack realizes his dream under less than ideal circumstances, and the rest is history, as they say. So we'll see. I mean, it's not getting a lot of hype, right now? Maybe as it gets closer. All the big
ones are covering it. All the big media outlets are covering it. I mean, it's Titanfall. You're going to get that. But
I just don't feel like
I'm not seeing a super big amount of hype, so maybe that's good for them.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to be negative about that. I'm just saying it doesn't it doesn't have the same hype as the first time around.
No, and I think due to that, in like with No Man's Sky and Evolve and all those other games, I think people are tempering their expectations now and not getting too hyped. So,
all right,
that might play a part of it.
Well, Jay, are your hands right now limbered and loose? That's a yes or no question.
You cut out, so I didn't hear you. Thanks to our Skype and Discord issues we're having. Thanks, Microsoft.
Well, let me repeat my question. I said, are your hands limbered and loose right now? No. Is the blood flowing through them? Because Xbox One has outsold the PS4, and I imagine you want to give a slow golf clap for that. There we go.
There we go.
And so, bringing about an end to Sony's win streak, if you want to call that. It's sort of lame in my opinion, but whatever.
We could really use a combo breaker here too.
You think that could be? And this wasn't from what's the thing that normally announces they have for sales? This was
NPD.
Actually, it was Microsoft actually beat them to the punch. So and I think that's because they just released the 2 terabyte Xbox One S.
Well, yeah. What's interesting to me is I don't know if this includes both of them, all of them, because it can't include the S because the S wasn't out in July. So this has to do with the hype. Oh,
that's true, right?
This has to do with the hype around Scorpio, the hype around S, which in turn lowered the price of the original Xbox One, and thus
as low as $219 in some cases with games.
Yeah. So that's got to be why they're on top in July, right?
Yeah.
Because the announcement of the other two lowered the price on the original one.
Yeah, there was some big price cuts. So
either way,
I think, you're probably correct. Yeah.
Either way, good for them. And as Phil Spencer says, thanks to everyone who helped make Xbox One the #1 selling console in July, according to NPD. Nice to be back on top. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Joe.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Last week, we briefly mentioned that the 2 terabyte Xbox One S is going the way of the dodo bird, and Jay, Maniac17 over here, refuted, saying, no, that was just in the UK, that is not everywhere. And while stock seems to be different in the two countries, you can certainly go out today and get a 2 terabyte rather easily in the US, and that will not be the case for much longer because Microsoft has confirmed the 2 terabyte Xbox One S launch model is a limited time version.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see is they're just going to keep continuing to. The internals will be similar, with the 2 terabyte, but you'll have the Gears one, and then I think some other stuff. You probably see a Forza one, and
Right.
who knows what else.
So the base 2 terabyte will go away, but like you said, these limited edition ones will be plentiful.
Yeah, and they've got, probably 14, 15 months to pump out a bunch of different ones now before Scorpio comes out.
Right. Let's move on. Gears 4 multiplayer, 1080p, 60 frames per second footage. Did you get a chance to feast your eyes on that at all?
I watched it, but it was on my phone, so I wasn't seeing.
The DeeBees were in here. The DeeBees
Yeah,
were in
but I
there.
did see the DVDs and stuff like that. I really need to watch it on my television in glorious 1080p first.
I think
it's interesting.
The DeeBees definitely make it play almost. I don't want to go as crazy as saying Call of Duty, but it's a lot faster. I mean, those guys move hell of a lot faster than the Lambits or the Locust, Or
Yeah, what was it? The little creatures that look, the dog-looking things running around. Those were pretty quick, but so.
It does look good, and I'm eating a little bit of crow. It looks like they have put quite a bit of work into the game since the beta or the alpha or whatever it was. It doesn't look as bland, and what did you used to say, blocky?
Yeah, I was saying it was kind of blocky. It looked, 360 quality. They definitely bumped up the visual quality quite a bit. And to be expected. I mean, that was an alpha or beta, so definite improvement. Seeing an improvement. So wait till she comes out. She should be pretty when she comes out.
Oh, Joe's going to buy like 3 or 4 of them. Can't wait.
I need 4.
Joe's just riveted here with all this Microsoft news.
3 physical, 1 digital.
Yeah. Now, I need someone to fill me in on Beam. So Microsoft acquires interactive live streaming service Beam. Now, this company was created by an 18-year-old, and I still think he's, doing most of the work, him and his team. But this is more of an interactive streaming. So Twitch, for the most part, is you log in, you watch someone play, and you can, have a chat conversation. Where Beam is they're calling it an innovative and interactive live streaming service that gives viewers the ability to watch and play along with their favorite game streamers in real time. Beam has evolved gaming streaming from a passive watch and chat experience into one with real-time participation by allowing the viewer to directly influence a streamer's gameplay and live broadcast. Seems like a lot of fucking work to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard of it until they acquired it, and I guess they're trying to compete with Twitch now. So,
right, and it doesn't seem to be at this particular point. It's not an app in the store, from what I can tell. It's just a website at this point.
Yeah, I haven't used it at all, so I really can't comment on it.
Yeah, so
It sounds super familiar. I swear I've heard of it before, but it's been a while, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it out, but
we're gonna have to dig deeper into that. So this is just more of a, hey, they've acquired it, and I guess at a later point we will get back with you and let you know how it worked for us. But
Hopefully they do better with this than they've been doing with Skype. Assholes.
Jay is very sour.
Yes. I'm surly.
Well, let's continue that theme. Quantum Break is headed to Steam. This is, some months after the original release on Windows 10. It looks like it's going to be coming to Valve's digital storefront on September 14th. And they'll also,
that makes sense. I don't imagine they sold much on the Microsoft Store.
And it will also be coming a physical version that we talked about just a few minutes ago from THQ Nordic, the Quantum Break Timeless Collector's Edition. And that will be $40.
Did you see all the discs in that thing?
Yeah, it comes with premium packaging, which is oh so important to Joe. Ooh. 5 game disc, 1-time Steam key redemption required. The making of Blu-ray, the making of book, 1 soundtrack CD, 2 posters, and the all-important quick start guide. So,
who cares about any of that crap? Premium packaging is what sold me.
Yes, erect nipples over here. Pitch the tent.
Tits up.
What's interesting is, September 4th. I can't remember when this game came out, but it definitely was a 2016 game, right? Right,
oh,
Jay?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So it's already coming. So this is one positive thing is we felt that they were going to monopolize things and just keep stuff on the Windows 10 store and never bring it over to Steam. So it's a positive that it's coming over there. Now, there are also problems, I guess, still with the Windows 10. And again, like we said with No Man's Sky, these are maybe edge cases. And the problem with PC gaming is not everybody has the same system. That's why a lot of people go to consoles, because everybody's on the same playing field, right? So some people on Windows 10 are still experiencing problems. Let's see, Thomas Pua at Riot RMD. He is the head of communications at Remedy. And he tweets out, this slipped under the radar. We released an update for Quantum Break Windows 10 version with DX12 performance improvements in early July. Someone responded to him, unless you consider a stuttering, constant hitching, barely 30, always sub 60, lowest settings on a 780 improvement. And he responds, sorry to hear you are having problems. It's unlikely we will release another Windows 10 patch. So I'm not sure if this is accurate, but the person at GameSpot made the quantum leap. Yuck, yuck, yuck. He says here in the article, the suggestion here is that if you want the best, most up-to-date version of Quantum Break, you'll need to pick up the Steam version when it launches in September. However, Remedy has not said anything just yet about what kind of support Steam players can expect. So again, I think that's a bit of a leap to say, all right, we're bringing this to Steam, so we're going to stop supporting Windows 10. I mean, the guy just came out and said, yeah, there's going to be no more patches for it. But can you make the leap and say, oh, because it's on Steam now, all the updates will just go to Steam? Maybe they're just not going to update the fucking game anymore. Maybe they're just going to bring it to Steam and that's going to be it. And then they're moving on to something else. Like we talked about, they're already working with some South Korea company, aren't they, on some game that we talked about, Crossfire 2 or something like that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, we mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. Jay, where were you? So I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, it came out in April 5th. So it's only been 4 months.
Yeah. So to me, it's a positive sign that it's coming to the Steam. Right? We were concerned that they were just going to come to Windows 10 and that would be it. So this is good, positive. At the same time, I don't think, because they're not supporting Windows 10 anymore, that they're just all of a sudden going to throw the updates to Steam. Maybe they're just going to release it and move on. That's what I feel.
You think they're going to start? You think they're going to not push the Windows platform as hard, since obviously didn't go as?
No, I think they're going to wait for their bigger heavy hitters. I think they're going to wait for Forza, Gears, things like that. You know, when they get that Play Anywhere feature comes out. I think there's still an update that needs to come out in sometime in September to kick that off. I think Recourse, the first game that has that Play Anywhere feature. So.
Yeah, I don't know. The Windows Store for selling games, it just doesn't look good for them at this point in time. If they're running into these issues. So we'll see if they can improve on the other ones, because they did mention that all the ones that were announced at E3 will be, the cross-buy type of deal.
So it's kind of just
see how well those work.
Exactly. And that's all I really had this week, fellas. Some quick housekeeping. We have now followed in the footsteps of many other podcasts. We are on Discord. So if you want to chat with us, and occasionally we'll also post some news in one of our text channels, you can do so. We're having some fun with it, even though there's limited participants at this time.
Yes.
And
It's fun.
And the more that join, the better it'll get.
Yeah, and we still have shirts for sale, so if anybody wants to do that, head over to represent.com/store/gamers in beta.
Approximately $18, $19 with shipping.
Yes, it's under $20 with shipping and handling, $15 for the shirts, and I want to say $4.99 for shipping and handling.
There we go.
Yep. Other than that, shout outs and plugs. Dad's Getting Grounded and the 40cast just released new episodes, so go listen to them. I'm sure everybody else has released new ones as well, like Everyday Gamers, Open Forum Radio, OMG Hour, etc., etc. So go listen to them. And I think if you really need a No Man's Sky fix, I think the Future Monkeys put out a rather large, lengthy podcast on that. Am I right, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, indeed.
So you can catch up on that as well. And I think that's all my plugs and shout-outs. What about you, Jay?
I do have one. Again, all the podcasts and the listeners, thank you very much. And you gentlemen for showing up this evening and giving me someone to run my face at. This week, as far as a movie, gents, if you want to make points with the wife, and say she wants to go see a movie, go see Bad Moms with her. I went into this figuring, oh, God, this is going to be a nightmare. I'm going to fall asleep, get in trouble because I fell asleep at the movie she wanted to go see. I laughed my ass off the entire way through, and she absolutely loved it. So if you're looking for a movie to go see with the wife, go see Bad Moms, and don't bring the children because it is not appropriate, but man, is it funny as hell. So probably one of the better comedies that I've seen recently. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. So just a FYI for you. And maybe make some points.
I just want to say thanks a lot to the Gamers Unscripted
Yes, that was a good
show
episode.
for letting me fill in for you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun going on that show and hanging out with the guys, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Brought a different theme to them too, so that was enjoyable. The comics and whatnot. So
Yes, it was good that you were there in my stead because I would bring absolutely zero to that conversation.
Solid
as a rock. Oh, I also want to throw out there, if anybody can tell me why certain graves in Iceland are above ground and not below ground, get at me. I must know the answer to this. There's been many rumors, speculation. Some people saying it's the extra dirt. Some people saying it's the geothermal energy pushing the graves up. But I'm not buying either one of those because when you look at certain pictures that either my wife or other people have taken, the definition of the grave is too defined, almost like the coffin or the cement box the coffin would go in. So someone tell me why they're buried above ground.
permafrost? No, it's not that cold there, right?
No. I mean, it's probably really cold in the winter, but they're not below sea level. Some of them aren't like this. Some of them are. So it's clearly... There's some difference there. Not all of them are the same. So I need to get to the bottom of this. And I've actually, this is how bad this addiction is getting. I've emailed. There's some sort of I don't know, the head person in charge of burials in Iceland. They have some sort of website on like standards and things like that. So I emailed them asking them, but they were on.
You are infatuated with this.
They were on vacation till the middle of August. I think they're back the 17th. So maybe we'll hear before next episode, unless they just reply back that they just send me a thing back. You're a freak. Go away.
Yeah.
I must know the answer to this. I probably should have just asked the local, right? But
yeah, there you go. Who knows? I think you went to the right place, so we'll see. Mm-hmm. But I believe we're at the end of the podcast here. So until next time, same beta time, same beta channel, and maybe we'll have the other two with us. See ya!
Hello, big boy. Hey, guys. What's up, baby?